Hello, hello. Music stop right at the right time. Just checking my audio levels a little bit here. Okay, I think that'll be good. How's everybody going? Or how's everybody going? How's everybody doing? How's it going? I smushed them together. Oh, we started last week the Tauri tray app, and just noticed my chat might be updating. Good to see you, Nicola. Ah, okay. Oh, no, it is. Thanks for stopping by. No, nothing. Nice. Last week we started the Tauri tray app in V2. We have, in many past streams, it's been one of the more popular ones that we've done, a tray app. The idea being that a little bit more of a personal use case where you create an app that's just for you and lives in your tray. So in the same vein of having a CLI that you can run that's sort of defined personally by you. So it has the couple features that you need for like a little Pomodoro timer or information about the projects that you're working on or something. That's kind of the idea. We've experimented also with a personal CLI. It's all sort of in that same encapsulation. And in V1, it was more of a little bit more of a experimentation ground for what we were using it on stream. In V2, I think we're sort of pushing it a little bit more forward to where it's going to be. I think it makes sense to make this a template. Something we can still experiment with on stream. But as a template, we can add a few features. Y'all watching can open up PRs for bits and pieces that you would find useful. And, we can kind of collectively move it forward there. So it ends up serving not only as a discussion piece, but also as the thing we're imagining it, we can actually use it for. So last week for the most part, we did an upgrade we were on a V2 alpha off of a PR kind of mishmash. So we finished off the full upgrade to V2 beta, and that is in let's see, we can pop on over here. That is in the Rust Playground repo. I really wish I could pin some more things here. Or Tauri Playground, excuse me. Tauri Playground. And I did actually remember to commit it this time. Sometimes I forget, and somebody will be like in the comments, "Where'd you put the code?" Yeah, whoops. Forgot to commit it. Definitely committed it. So this is what we worked on last week. I can go ahead and I think it's all in this diff as well. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. So what we're gonna do today is split this out and start to work towards making it into a template effectively. Because we do have a little bit of experimental type stuff in here. We were pulling in system data, which is fine. But we were also messing around with the menus, because this originally was a very alpha thing. It is not so alpha anymore. So I don't know that we want this specifically, but I want to explore the system tray options. So when you run the app and it's in your system tray, the menu items there and that little pop-up, that's the part that I really want to explore. This is adjusting the menus, the drop downs or whatever, in the actual main app itself. Maybe a little bit more useful for Mac. I don't think it's entirely useful for Windows at all. but I want to kind of emulate this potentially in the system tray. So that's what we're gonna like really be diving into here. Let me go ahead and open up our Tauri playground. Oops. Oh no, magnifier. Where? Wrong button combination. I need to turn that off. No. Should I write myself what to do? I don't have anything to write. I use the same keyboard for my Mac and my Windows. So occasionally I'll my brain hasn't, despite my keyboard being connected to the right computer, my brain hasn't switched over to this is the Windows and I need to use the Windows shortcuts. So sometimes I'll find myself using the Mac shortcuts and weird things sometimes happen. What was I even trying to do? I was trying to increase the size of this text here, and I accidentally pressed, would it be Alt, I guess? Alt plus, I guess, is the magnifier in Windows. Okay, so anyways, we've got this in Tauri Playground. Let's go to the Tray app. We are going to, I think, pull it out into a separate repo. We can leave it there and let it be its own thing, but we'll pull out this template that we want to evolve it into. We'll pull it out into a separate repo. Ricardo, thanks for stopping by. I am glad that the live streams are helpful. I enjoy the learning and sort of the teaching, the mentoring. So I always appreciate when the things that I'm doing end up actually being helpful. I'm just letting this scan. No, actually, let's close this. I'm going to. Can I get a copy command right on the first try? Hey, we got an example here. Let's go up. Let's go up 2 folder levels, and we're going to do a copy. I think we can do -R for recursive. So this is in new shell, I believe. So these command options that you're seeing there might not be the Linux versions, or the Mac versions, depending on Tray app. And we want to copy it to, what do we call this? Personal Tray app, maybe? Sure. We could start. I mean, we can always change it later. Personal Tray app. Let's see if this copy works. I guess the downside with that, I just thought of that, so now it's going to copy over my whole target directory and everything, which is not necessarily going to be the quickest copy, but I guess we'll see. While that's running, though, we can chat. What we were looking for, what we want to look for today is this sort of dynamic way that we're creating the menu when the app is open. So the file menu. I want to kind of do the same potentially for the system tray. Don't think we're gonna need any of these right now. Let's go ahead and give that a refresh so we can get the CSS in there. Oh yeah, we don't have a system tray here. Let's look at the JavaScript API. So what I'm potentially thinking is that we could look to provide a few hooks. So the expectation, I think, is that somebody is going to grab, create their own version of this repo off the template and run and build it locally. So this isn't necessarily a thing that needs or will be distributed. It is more of a everybody builds their own thing. So I think there's sort of like two ways that I would think makes sense to enable configuration. There's going to be the like, this is a template, do whatever you want. So I think one of the things that we can enable is maybe like a folder or something for snippets. So if people want to like add a snippet to, make a little Pomodoro timer or something like that, we can put it in there. And then if that's something that you want, copy and paste. And the other thing we can do is have like an INI file or something like that, or some sort of configuration file that lives adjacent to this binary that you can configure more base level stuff like options and settings through that potentially. We can also potentially have like a little settings panel in the app to where we could set these as well. That actually, I think I like that better. We can just like persist it as part of the, there's like a Rust persister. And then that gives us more flexibility in where we put it. Somebody could just run it directly from their target directory and it would work. Hey Chris, thanks for stopping by. Saw your test stream the other day. I caught it on my phone, so I was a bit in and out, but it looked good. Text was all readable even on my phone. Yeah, briefly, and then I was chasing kids around the house. So, you were working on your asteroid game. So, if you're unfamiliar, Chris, wherever Chris, I guess up this room, there we go. Chris does a fair amount of Rust, particularly Bevy as of late, and runs a site called Rust Adventure where there's workshops, like Rust workshops that you can go through. But was it like a week or two ago? You went to Rust, was it Rust Nation UK, I think you said, and on the plane built asteroids. And it looked like you got particle effects working in your asteroids game. So neat. And actually, now that we're like totally digressed, the I don't. Is there a packager with Bevy? So something that what is there? GitHub. Something that I found interesting that I think is going to make sense. Is it just Crab Nebula? Nope. Is there GitHub? Crab Nebula Dev is their website, and no, GitHub. I just want to go to the GitHub. Yep, there we go. Okay, we're getting there. We're making it. Cargo Packager. So part of what Tauri is doing, like the main Tauri, is taking all these like disparate pieces and allowing one to like package into binary. So like a bunch of the sugar that's in the like main Tauri dependency, like the Tauri crate, is a packager, and partly for convenience, partly like it didn't make sense at the time. It was just like embedded directly, but more and more like we've been pulling out these disparate pieces to where other like Tauri isn't run by a single company, so there's less incentive to make it something that is this company controls it, it's in a box, and nobody else has really any say. So when you don't have that type of incentive, then more natural incentive ends up being, we can make, since we have all these pieces, why don't we make them work in other ecosystems? And I don't know if this was one of their like came through their consulting arm or something, or like what was the catalyst for creating this? But they've started pulling out pieces of the bundler into a separate thing to where you can package anything. So eGUI is one of the things. And long story short, I wanted to see if Bevy was on this. Bevy was on this list. It looks like it's just eGUI right now. Interesting. That's kind of funny, Slint. It's possible this list has also not been updated. Okay, so it looks like they did get Electron working. That's kind of nifty. And that's, yeah. So there's a bunch of pieces that are really annoying if you've ever done apps. Making an app and running it locally, kind of, it's rough. Or excuse me, making an app and running it locally is not a problem. Distributing it with the updating is painful. Especially when you get into like, well, I want this packager to support flavors of Linux. Whew. Well, also Windows, that has its own difficulties. Mac, especially now with Apple Silicon, that's not particularly easy either. So this does, it is the packager, and it makes these. I don't know if this does the signing. Packager, bundler, and up. Oh, so this does actually have the updater built into it too. Cargo packager updater. Okay, so this is this bit. And part of, like full disclosure, part of what Crab Nebula is, one of their products is they've got a cloud offering. So the intent with this cloud offering is that you can distribute your binaries anywhere. Like you could throw this in S3, but when you're publishing a web app or something like that, the web app has sort of been commoditized. So like there's like Netlify and all of those they've made it easier to publish a web app. You can like Heroku was one of the earlier iterations of that, where like you type in a command or you do a thing, you just commit your code, and then like it's published. You could set that up with GitHub releases, and that works, but there's rate limiting on the GitHub releases. So as soon as you like get to a certain scale, you kind of need to like deal with that. And this is sort of the first, I don't want to deal with it. I want somebody else to deal with it. I've been talking to Daniel. I do want to like talk about or go through this on stream. It's a pretty neat offering, and like the prices and everything are pretty fair. And Crab Nebula does a lot for the Tauri ecosystem, so I don't have a problem supporting the things they do. Anyways, signing. Yeah, I don't think it is signing. There is signing built into Tauri. I don't know if that has been specifically pulled out in a separate piece though. So like those are the packaging and the signing are the two like really painful bits. And there's Electron has like its own build thing. I think Bevy has a way to build. I don't know if that's built in directly. Rust has been like, there's Chris mentioned cargo dist. So building has kind of been the first step. I was gonna search for cargo dist, but the signing. Oh yeah. Cargo dist is by. This is another pretty neat company. I respect what they're doing. Where's their? Do they have a link to their site? Axo.dev. Home. Nice. Here we go. Where's their company name? Is it Axolotl? Oh, it's just axo.dev, I guess. Yeah, it looks like it. I respect what they're doing. And they, among other things, the people that started it, here we go. Ashley Williams is, as far as I understand, pretty well respected, and I definitely respect what they do. So check that out. Cargo dist is a little bit more generic and specifically for Rust. I think when you get into the more like less purely Rust, like eGUI or like some of these, this I think is going to end up being beneficial. Bevy is a GitHub repo template. Okay, so it's got a CIA thing that builds a DMG, but it doesn't include signing. Yeah. So what Tauri has done is it has the code to handle packaging, updating, and I think it does all the signing now. Most of the apps that I've done with Tauri, I haven't gotten to the point where I needed to sign and like spin up a license and everything. I've only done signing for like other binaries. I didn't want to kick my cat. I heard him eating. I'll have to double check. I feel like we talked about pulling out the signing bit too, because I think the combination of being able to package, building less so, but more about the packaging, updating, and signing those are the very difficult bits. And honestly, like if we could, as a base thing, support more of those things from the work that's going all around in Tauri, I think that would be pretty neat. Anyways, what were we talking about before we totally digressed? Oh yes. We copied and we were looking at the tray app. So we should have a repo, or a folder rather, called personal tray app. So let's go ahead and open up that. It's gonna have I copied over the node modules and everything sort of accidentally, so we might want to just scrub that to be safe. What are we working with here? Vite. Okay, Vite and React, that's probably fine for now. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. We'll let it start doing its indexing, and we want to look at the tray settings. And so like part of going back to our slight distraction, part of what we were working on in V2 was the core of Tauri, make that something that is we can update and audit it, and sort of give very much give it like the stamp of approval. But in doing that, it makes it more difficult to iterate. And one of the things that was sort of pushed forward in V2 more is the idea of having plugins. And the idea of having plugins is that it gives a place or an extension point to where you can experiment. So you can have plugins that are potentially less stable than the main Tauri repo, and there's like the ability to iterate, and we're not losing the the speed of iteration necessarily for those things that need it. What about the Apple Silicon? Does Tauri support it? Yeah, I think it supports it fine. I'm not aware of anything that it needs to deal with there specifically. Yeah, I'm not aware of anything that would have a problem there. So I think most of that ends up being taken care of through Rust. The Apple Silicon ends up being like an additional target. So there's been experimentation to like mobile support is a big thing in V2, right? And one of the things that Rust enables is the ability to build and have configuration or codes for specific build targets. So there's been experimentation to like build for like Apple Watch. I want to say somebody's tried building for Vision Pro. It ends up being different targets. So if you need additional code or different code to handle that, it's something that can be added in a way that's reasonably scalable. So the consideration that I was mentioning as far as Apple Silicon goes is when you're creating a binary for Mac, if it's a thing that requires a different Apple Silicon build, you can actually create a universal binary that when installed will install either Apple Silicon or the x86 depending on which systems it's being installed in. So that way you don't need to require the user to download the appropriate one. That was a common thing, and it kind of still is a common thing. Potentially less so though in Windows, because there was the switch to x64. So you needed a 32-bit and a 64-bit version of your binary, and now you're asking a user to know a thing about the computer that they might not actually know. So putting it all into one binary and just letting the system pick the right pieces is nice. Okay, so plugins. We want to look at I think it might just be in the main API plugin. I don't think there's anything else specifically that we would be able to pull in. So like plugin store might be something we want to pull in if we're talking about like doing settings. So if there's like a little settings menu in the default template to where somebody could enable certain pieces just with a checkbox, plugin store is probably going to be the way to do that, because we just need a way to persist like keys and values. Doesn't like there's really no secrets attached to it, so it's pretty safe to use that. I think that's probably going to be where some of these other things might actually come into use through like snippets or something, where like somebody might want to make a clipboard manager, a little app that you can like manage your clipboard. And I mean, in some cases too, like there's existing tools on Windows and Mac to handle this, but you might have a specific use case that you want to meet, and having a snippet to do that would be nice. But this isn't like a base level piece of the template that we need to use. I think most of what we're going to want is in this main API. And we can do, okay, so there's a new tray icon new. So this is in JavaScript, which is the interesting bit. We are able to in Rust, I mean, we can do some dynamic things in Rust too. So like we could throw these tray things in Rust, and we can, like, a start or something, load an INI. Actually, I guess while we're talking about that, let's look at the store. If we were to use the store plugin, and we want to use this as a way to persist state and settings to be able to like enable certain bits, what does this look like? So this seems to be primarily JavaScript. If we look at the Rust docs, what do we all have in here? Plugin, path. Just the features. Is this the? Yeah. Okay. So there's community resources. And actually, I guess we can look at the story here. There is a Rust piece of it. So we can do the store in Rust, and we could set up all of these items in Rust. Can the tray icon be animated? I don't believe so in the way that you're expecting it. Presumptions there, obviously. I think it needs to be a static image. I think that's an operating system requirement. I believe. Yeah, like I don't think GIFs are supported, Nicola. The way that, like, if you see animations or something that appeared like animations in the tray, I think it's pictures. And honestly, like, that's effectively like what a GIF is. It's got a handful of screenshots in there, effectively, or pictures in there that, as a file format, are expected to be played in order. I don't know if that's actually even just a Windows thing. Like, I believe it has to be static on Mac and Linux as well. So I think what ends up happening is, and maybe that's something we can experiment with here. I think it just changes it on the fly. So if you get a notification and it needs to show a notification, it's literally just dynamically changing the picture. So rather than giving it a GIF with the understanding that it knows how to animate through those pictures within that GIF, I think you could basically write code to do that, to where you can like stop motion frame through an animation. It's not gonna be like incredibly smooth, but I don't think that's necessarily a user expectation. A window or a switch from this picture A to picture B is probably in line with what a user might expect to see. So here, OBS is running right now. It's a little bit small, but when it's running and recording or streaming, it gets this little red dot. I think it's literally just switching that icon. So the icon switches from just the circle, the black circle thing, to one with a dot. So I don't think there's actually like any animations to go between those pictures. It's just, when state change, switch the picture. And like, that's potentially something we can do. And we have the ability to do it in JavaScript, or we have the ability to do it, where are we? Store, Tauri. What were we looking at here? Tray. I think we can do it in like directly in here. Events. So we're firing this off on setup. We don't necessarily need to do it here. I think we can change some of this on the fly, like in a command or something like that. So if that's something that we wanted to do, and honestly, like, having the ability to do that quickly would be nice. And if this ends up being something that we put it in the template and is really useful. You know, it's also something we could potentially push upstream. Put it in the main like Tauri repo. So if we make useful snippets or useful functions that are widely applicable, which could very well be the case, you know, we can work to put it in the main Tauri repo. So we could, there's the store. On setup, it defines the store, and so it drops in a .bin, it looks like. You can manually save the store after making changes. Okay. So this, it seems like it's effectively like loading it into memory with this example code, and then on exit it'll save it, or you can just manually fire off a save. And we have some permissions related to it as well. But we also have the JavaScript API. We could do it in Rust. Either way, the thing that we're writing ends up getting compiled down. So we're gonna have like static JavaScript and static Rust. The way we would make it dynamic would be like through the store. So the store could be a way to handle state or mutate state, and we would need to interact with the app in some way so as to change the store, which then drives those menu options. So I think we potentially have a path to do it in Rust and a path to do it in JavaScript. I think I'm definitely going to be much quicker doing this in JavaScript. And I think this is one of the places where, like, so if I do it in React, and we're making a template out of this, not everybody's going to be familiar with React. So like the idea of that's kind of like where my idea of snippets is coming in, where somebody could write the exact same. They could write the exact same in Vue, for instance. Something that is easy to swap out, you know, copy paste sort of deal. And, you know, now you're in like a language that you're comfortable with. We've got a kitty making an appearance. You say hi? Or are you distracted? Hi. Okay, so we've been doing a lot of chatting. Let's spin up some code real quick. Right now we've got this like create menu thing. I don't really care about that right now. Menu, so we're just like changing the menu items. I'm gonna rip that out because that's not really gonna be useful for us. Oop. And like I said, we can spin this up in other languages or other frameworks as well. I don't think that's something that we're gonna need or want to do now. If we are going to be writing a bunch of this in JavaScript, I'm actually curious. So in Rust, we sort of have like a default setup, right? The app loads, we get these like default interactions. This cat. And what if we do what happens if we do both? It's that meme. Why not both? If we default set up in Rust, is it going to be a problem if we start mutating in JavaScript? Because we could potentially have snippets for both. Like somebody wants to do it all in Rust, like more power to you. If you want to do both if you're more familiar with JavaScript, you might want to do like everything in JavaScript, and like you might want to set it up to where your main.rs is like 5 lines of code and you don't have to think about it. And I think that's one of the big benefits of V2 is that the ability to write more things in JavaScript has become a much greater reality. Okay, tail in the face. So this does not tray icon. This does not have a terrible amount of documentation, so we might need to experiment a little bit with it. So this will add a new tray class to which we can set the icon. So like this would be a way that we can make this dynamic icon thing. So we could make an icon that like on a timeout just switches, like swaps between two, and it'll be very like pixel animation type, like 2D platformer. You're running left, you're running right, you're running left, you're running right. It's just swapping between pictures depending on the last state, which direction you're running in, or before that state change. However games end up doing it. But so it sets a new one. Can we mutate existing ones? Oh, interesting. macOS only. And set title. Sets the tool tip for this tray icon. So is there a way to get the existing ones? Click type, icon, position, coordinates, the ID, and the position of the click event. We can do the actions. So that like, I think the action, if we're allowing the user to configure and define tray items, where you or the objective that you want to achieve may be easier to do in Rust or JavaScript, and depending on your background too, like do the thing that's going to allow you to ship it fast, right? Unless you want to learn Rust or you want to learn JavaScript, like that's fine. Do the thing that is going to be meet your objective the easiest, and that might be a different answer for JavaScript versus Rust for you. So like I think that's going to end up being the determining factor. If I want to fire off an action, is it going to be easier for me to write it in Rust or JavaScript? So that's why I think there's reasons to have it, the ability to, or like a snippet to where you could use one or the other. But I don't see a way to actually like edit existing ones. I guess we can remove them. The tray icon, which could be, because we're going to have an ID. So if we create a new tray icon, it's going to have an ID attached to it. And if we're able to grab that some way, we'd be able to change like the tooltip and the title. Can we remove them is the question. New set visible, so we could change the visibility. Title, because if we can get the ID of all of them in some way, close. You should not call any method on this object anymore and should drop any reference to it. Makes sense? Okay. Now, actually, when I first read this, I was understanding tray icon to be one of the options. I don't think that's the case. If we look at a Rust code here, we are doing a tray icon builder new. We set the icon and then we handle the events based on the menu. The menu is based off this menu builder, in which we define the items. So in this case, we have a quit, hide, and show. Tray icon builder, I think, is actually mapping to tray icon. So when we call new, we are actually we are creating an icon to where when you click it, you get the options. So when we call close, we're actually removing that icon. So you could, I guess, theoretically, you could have one app with multiple tray icons, which is actually kind of interesting. Run one app and it has the ability to do like a Pomodoro timer and a way to like spin up a note, or like a markdown note or something really quickly, or an icon for triggering shortcuts or something. That's kind of a neat idea. So once we like set this, okay, so set menu sets a new tray menu. Can we once a menu is set, it cannot be removed. Got it. So on Linux, we wouldn't be able to remove it. We might need to deal with this later, but I think potentially what we could do is, for our uses right now, we're running off of Windows. I'm presuming if we set window to null, or excuse me, set menu to null, I'm guessing that it's going to remove that one. Set tooltip. So tooltip would be the thing when you hover over it. It's going to give you specific text. And see, like, this is a thing that we're going to have to think about too. There's a bunch of these like platform specific pieces. So when we fire up new, we're getting a new tray icon, which is the equivalent to the tray icon builder new. And these are the events. So, or excuse me, it'll fire off an event. Interesting. So we don't get events on Linux. Icon. So the tray icon menu. Okay. I think we can make it dynamic. Let's try doing both. Let's just see what happens if we try doing both, and we can go from there. So in our I guess in our app, we've got a button right now. I'm actually gonna grab, because we kind of want this, like, I'm not creating a menu. Like, I don't want to do that. But so here, what I was basically doing is anytime we clicked one of the menu items, it created a new one. We don't want the menu items though. I would prefer to use the tray. So let's just grab this little bit here, and we're gonna swap some pieces out. So I think like our first test here is going to be we are going to, I guess on first mount. This might be a little bit awkward in React, but if we do something like this, because we can make this async, and now we can say whenever this is clicked, so this will be the, oh, I don't need to change the tooltip. So in tray, anytime we click, we basically want to like create a new menu item. So if we say create tray item. What's the tray menu? Menu item. We have a state. So if we do const tray menu items and set tray menu items. We might need to figure out how to populate that. And I think this is going to be the interesting bit. Like this initial state, we need to grab those IDs or get those IDs in some way. Like we need to hook to that resource ID or something. So when we do new tray icon, it's taken an RID and an ID. The ID is the associated with it. Okay, and private is read only. So if we do, I think it was tray icon.new. Can we set the ID? Yes. I'm wondering if this new constructor is actually going to give us a handle to the existing one if we know what that ID is. So by default, it's going to give us a random ID. Menu ID. Quit, hide, and show. So this is the menu item. I don't know if this is the... I don't see anywhere that we set an ID for the main one. So this is taking a menu item builder, new, with text, and there's an ID on it, and then it builds it. Is there one for this, the tray icon? .id. Okay, so we're not specifying ID. I'm guessing what's happening is that it's giving us a it's just giving us a random one. So this would be the main what do we call it? Main tray icon. So I think expected 0 arguments, found 1. Oh. Access the unique ID that will be assigned to the tray icon this builder will create. Okay, so that's not actually setting it. That is retrieving it. This is a new take. Let's look at the Rust docs for that. Tray and tray icon builder. New. It doesn't take anything. With ID creates a new tray icon builder with a specified ID. There we go. That's what we want. With, with public function new with ID function menu icon tooltip. Okay. So if we do with ID and we do tray main tray, let's just call it main tray. No method. Use associated function syntax instead. Oh, got it. we do it like this? Does that look right? We just call with ID directly? Yes. Okay, so new gives us a new with a random ID. With ID gives us a specific ID. Okay, so now what we do is, I'm guessing if we, as part of this constructor, set a specific ID, I'm wondering if it's going to give us a handle to that. In which case we can say main tray. And now I'm wondering if tray has a way we can retrieve the menu items. So we can set a whole bunch of stuff. I thought there was a way to grab the tray menu items though. Set. This is events and tray icon options. So in new we can set this. We can set, and here we can set the menu. So once we do tray icon.new, are we able to retrieve the menu items in some way? So we can set the tooltip. RID, close, set icon. So we got a lot of sets. I'm not seeing a way to actually retrieve the menu items though. Hey Amr, good to see you. We are doing a little experimenting. So now that we've got remember the stream that we did where you had that PR open where you could dynamically create menu items in JavaScript? Playing around with that a little bit and seeing how, like, it's not a real use case, but I'm seeing how the JavaScript and Rust side of the system tray interact. And we were looking to see if there was I'm not seeing a way, but we were looking to see if there's a way to retrieve all the existing menu items. So as we could have potentially a default set in Rust and then like mutate or change them on JavaScript. I suspect that probably doesn't entirely make sense, but like we're seeing where the existing boundaries are right now. So we can do, okay, get by ID. So if we pass in icon, action, invoke, set. Yeah, there's a lot of sets. Okay, and there are invokes. It is just invoking. What if Rust supports it? Menus defined in Rust can't be accessed in JavaScript. Got it. Is there... So if I guess you would need to maintain your own state in JavaScript. So if you create new menus in JavaScript, you need to maintain that state in JavaScript, right? So like we'd have to have like a set state and change the state and use that state as a way to define the menu items or the tray items to be able to like change them later. So this defines the menu. And I mean, I guess something we could do too is if you start handling it in JavaScript, you can just remove the Rust side of things. We've got this plugin tray. Let's go take a little peek at that code. So we've got, let's try making a new one. Let's just straight up make a new one. We've defined a with ID of main tray. Let's change it and call it a Rust tray icon. And we're gonna have this be JS tray icon. This is going to be, so right now we've got it set up. This would be on first render. Yeah, that's fine. You don't store the menus in Tauri internal state on Rust side. We got it. Got it. Okay. Then we can make them accessible if they want by storing them in the resources table and giving resource ID to JavaScript. Where's the resources table? I mean, honestly, like I said, I don't know that this is entirely a reasonable use case, so don't take this as feature requests. At this point, we're sort of like just seeing where the edges are and seeing like what we can do with what we have right now. Because I think, so if the idea is to use this as a template, I think people are going to tend towards Rust or they're going to tend towards JavaScript. So I imagine that if you start doing it in Rust, you're going to want to do all of it in Rust. For the most part. Because what like the other bits you can do would be, if we want interaction or a way to change those menu items from the perspective of the web view, we can fire off a command, and that command could do the Rust stuff to change the menu items, right? So like I think we've got a way to I think we would end up directing the user to, if they're cloning a template that is a tray app, and the tray app has snippets to do it in Rust or do it in JavaScript, you choose one. So this would give us, we are defining a tray, and then tray, we would do a set menu. Once a menu is set, it cannot be removed. So set menu would be a menu, submenu, or null. And the set menu would be, let's see, tray. There's a set tooltip here. Menu. What does menu look like? It's a menu bar on the window on Windows and Linux, or as a global menu in the menu bar on macOS. Okay. Is this the same menu? Ooh. Where are we? Tray icon options. So menu, the tray icon menu. If you look here, it's taking a menu and it's using the RID and the kind and passing that. Oh, and the full menu too. You can either use a menu or a submenu for the tray. They're both treated the same. Okay, so then if we look at the let's look at these docs. If we look at the menu, there's a lot of enumerations, classes. Check menu item inside menu contains a text. Okay. So I think if we do menu, it would just be the text, which is probably fine for the moment. So we need to spin up a menu, and like if we look at our example here, we're actually doing that already. And what we were doing instead was we had the we can just undo. I think it'll still be here. We were using menu here, and this was doing a menu set as app menu. So like this bit was taking this menu, and we were appending these items, and we were setting as the app menu. So similarly, rather than doing this set as app menu, I'm guessing what we want to do is like take this. Okay, fine, I'll just delete it. Oop. And do the same, except we're going to do menu item new. So text action. And in this case, our action is going to be a set state. And we're not returning, or we're not doing a menu.set as. Actually, I'm curious what menu. This is not helping me any. New create. Nope. Oh, this is JSX. I don't think it's going to actually make a difference as far as the code goes. If we switch this to TSX, I think we're going to get a little bit better helpers. As soon as let's just give it a quick reload. Menu dot. It's a Rust index. Got it. I don't have any menu items. Menu item from this. Okay. So this returns a new. I don't understand why it's thinking this is undefined. But basically we do want to do the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this into here so we get a closure. And now we have a we have an action, we have text. The state is going to hold the ID. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the state and then set the menu item, or set the menu item and then change the state. So when we get a, oh really? Oh. Okay. Click me fetch this data. Let's do another button, and we're gonna say add tray menu item. Thanks for stopping by, Emmer. Have a good rest of your evening, I guess. So rather than doing it in evoke, we're gonna end up saying we're gonna do on click handle add menu item. Do I make that? It's fine as a function. And on click. There we go. So in here we have, let's do menu item count and tray menu items dot length. So we're doing this menu dot set as app menu, and I don't think we need to do that anymore. So I'm going to remove this. And what we end up wanting to do is we need to, every time we click that, we need to create a new menu item, which you've done here. And the action is going to be +1. Suppose I could have a, here, let's do const I equals this. Actually, undo. Const I equals this. That's fine. So now we will get a new menu item every time we click one of the existing menu items, and it's going to iterate based on the length. Length is 0. So we might not actually need to do +1, but it's fine if we get a. We don't need to iterate, or we don't care too much about the actual iteration of it. So we need to do two things. When we click this button, we want to. I guess this is going to be the first one. So this is going to add a new item. Or if we click any of the tray icon or tray items, it's going to also add a new item. So we're going to have two ways to add a new item. Either through the button click or because we're going to basically end up getting an event here. And yeah. So this action would end up having the set tray menu items. I guess we can't really get the. So this is going to end up having an ID associated with it, right? Can we set the ID here? Yes, we can. So if we set the ID to this, we know both the text and the ID is this, in which case we can say items items.push, and if we push an array, do we get a new? I don't know if this is gonna work. React state, you can pass a function. The function will give you the previous state, in which case you can then give it a new state. Push is going to return. That's going to mutate the existing one. So actually, what we would want to do would be items dot. So push would just like mutate the items. But what we really want to do would be a concate. So then that will return a new array. And then after we do that, we want to append this new item. So if we do tray dot, there's a set So we actually need a handle to both the tray and the menu within the tray, because we're like, to update the tray, we're setting the whole, or to update the menu items, we're setting all the existing menu items. So we would have, if we say const menu equals, so we had menu items before, right? Why can't I undo there now? I guess I destroyed my undo stack. If we look at the menu, we were setting the menu. There's an append. So I think if we just do like a new menu, new, menu.new and options, we can give it either items or an ID. I don't think we care about either of those right now, because we're gonna have a handle to it existing here in our every time this mounts. So then we could do a the tray is going to set this menu, which will initially be empty. Argument of type. Okay, we need to await this. So now it has a menu, and we've got a menu here. When we add a new item, we update our state array, so we have a link to those IDs. And then we're going to say menu.append, I believe. Menu.append returns a promise, so we need to await that promise, and it expects an argument of a menu item, which would be this new menu item. So anytime we click, we've got a button. We are giving it a menu. On first mount, we're giving a menu. And the menu is going to have no items. When we click this button, we're going to create a new menu. Create a new menu item, excuse me. And then we need to append it. So we actually need to do the same here. But also, additionally, if you click one of those menu items, once one of them exists, we want to also add a new menu item. And that would be text this. And it's not going to be I. It would be we're actually going to need to put this in the function. So this is fine, because when we click the button, we're taking the items, updating that list of IDs, and then we're appending it immediately. The state will exist here, but once we define it here, we need to. This will be at some point in the future. We're clicking the button, and we need to then increment again. So instead of instead of doing it this way, I think actually want to put it all in our state update. So our state update is going to give us a list of items. Those items are going to then determine basically this as well. So items instead. And we're going to do item count. Okay. And we're going to call this a clicked button and clicked menu item. So K. We're going to append and then return that as the new state. Let's see if our pretty wild code ends up actually working. Let's see. Context menu not found. Sure. That makes sense. I think we fixed that in the other one actually. Maybe I didn't push that. That would be unfortunate. Package. Why? Context menu. I think it's just, is it plugin menu now? Core. Sure enough. If we look at our code, we've got invoke from core. We've got menu, API menu. Okay. So this only needs to be API. So I think we can get rid of this. Let's do an install again. I'll have to push that up. That changed up to the Tauri playground as well. But this should basically give us like a dynamic menu items. And I think we're going to end up having two. We'll have one through Rust and one through JavaScript. And in this case, then you basically end up like removing the one that you don't care about. But I mean, this is a little bit convoluted, as in there's no real reason to use this. But if we then from here hook this up to the store, that's probably going to be a place where we can, if we have two icons, JavaScript and Rust, then you just delete the one that you don't want. Or we have snippets for each, and both can be hooked up to the store separately. All right, we got finished. It is currently hiding the windows, so I think we'll get it here. This appears to still be on the Rust side of things. If I do a show, this is in the web view. Okay. Tray new not allowed. Permissions. Yes, we need to do permissions. So when we are handling this in JavaScript, we need to do with like the sandboxing of the web view itself, in which we don't actually have any. This tray actually does not have any list of permissions. So we need to tray allow new. Schemas, migrated, permissions. We get permissions for tray default. This is basically like as part of setup, we're doing allow new, but here now, this is like doing it in JavaScript ends up being like more dynamic. And that's only gonna run when the thing loads. So here you can see it. We've got a whole bunch of them already. Show. Menu allow new. And we're probably gonna have to like kill this to get rid of some of those icons because it's spinning up a whole bunch of icons from the get. I'm gonna go ahead and go show again. So it's actually, you can't see it, but it's just opening up a white window on the side. So it's pretty clear that there's errors happening. And we're just gonna keep adding all these permissions. Perhaps we look to slim this down in the future in some way. But we just want it to work. Oh, yep, forgot. Keep forgetting that I need to actually like show it. Okay, so now these are actual errors unrelated to what we're doing. Above error. Okay, so objects are not valid as a found object promise. Invalid hook call. They can only be called inside. We can potentially just ignore this. Called inside of the body of a function component. And that's basically here. That like this is just a function. It's like, hey, you can't be doing this inside of a function. Objects are not valid. Where are we rendering an object? So I don't actually need that here. Button on click. We are firing off a handle add menu item, of which it tray menu. I don't know what it's thinking is an object. First pass. Let's just comment all this out for the moment. And sure, fine. And if we do a refresh, we get found object promise. I wish we got a little bit more like, that's not helpful. It's in the app component. Okay. Sys data. All right, let's just take out this whole button. And refresh. What is this data? Is this data? Key. Where do we got an issue here? React app render in the root. Just throwing an error here. We don't have anything now other than like hi. Oh. So this async function, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that. I'm gonna have to. So we get high. We're gonna have to do like put that in a use effect or something like that, which is a little bit annoying. And the other downside of this too is that you need the web view window to load. So it needs to load and then like hide itself potentially on first startup to actually populate the, these menu items. Okay, well, if we do, I guess that's kind of that's our option, right? Bring all this back. So what we need to then deal with is a use effect. We are only going to be running this on first render, so I'm going to give it an empty array and do this. And we need this to be async so as we can await. And what do we got? Refresh. Use effect. Yeah. And I need to be able to drag you. Tauri drag region? Is that it? I don't have a drag region anywhere. That's kind of annoying. Here. That'll get it on. So we got 2 buttons now. Fetch sys data, add tray menu item. It is, you can see like, that's a lot. Which makes sense. But none of those are actually handling the events. So we're not seeing, like in JavaScript, we are, when the web view loads, adding these tray icon items. So by doing it in Rust, literally when the app loads, we get this tray icon immediately. And we can handle those events. Here we've got, they're all empty. So, and any clicking that we would do or anything, we would end up having to like look here. Receive true for a non-Boolean attribute. Really? Refresh. That's what it is, right? Drag. I feel like I look this up all the time. Every time I need to do this, I do it once and then Tauri drag region. Okay. I'm gonna cheat. Or I mean, is it cheating? I figured it out in the past. I'm gonna use my previous go to redacted. I know that's got a drag region on it. And it's probably going to be, you can look at the colors.html. Data Tauri drag region. That's why it's not working. And that's okay, sure. Show. Still can't drag you. Why can't I drag you? Data Tauri. Data Tauri drag region. Data Tauri drag region. Setting it to true there. Refresh. It do I need to like allow it? Is that a permission now? That might actually be a permission. Capabilities. Drag? Yeah. Okay. Because when we migrated, we didn't have this in there, so I mean, it's entirely possible it's in the defaults, and that's some other issue here. I guess we'll find out. Okay, it's gonna give us an actual rebuild. It's interesting that we're getting a whole bunch of menus. That actually that seems better though. Still can't drag. That is weird. Inspect. Console. Well, I'm not gonna worry about that too much. Because what we really care about is here. So if we do add tray menu item, when we click that, are we getting an error or anything? Preference. K is not defined. So we have fired off this. This is adding a menu item, and it's saying that K is not defined because it's expecting K to be defined here. Oh, click button. That K. All right, refresh. So every time I refresh too, they're reloading these, which is, I mean, it's got an ID. It's weird that it's adding it every time we refresh. Clicked button 1. Menu is not defined. So as part of tray, can we access some tray.men? Doesn't seem like we've got any methods to actually like access that menu or anything. So we'd also be erroring here. If we execute this function at all, we're going to be missing a menu. Let menu. Not thrilled about this, but it'll get the job done for the moment. Click inspect console. Menu is not defined. I think we can do a refresh because I think that's old. And we click this. Okay, bad request. Perfect. We are progressing, but we also need to add the appropriate permissions to do this. We're going to get a rebuild, and it's gonna open this up again. There we go. So now we get boop 1. And every time we click this, we're going to get another boop. Nice. Great code. Items that can concate is not a function. I mean, like, honestly, it's doing the thing that we're expecting it to. The two options we then have are menu or submenu. What's a submenu? Type that is a submenu inside of menu or submenu. So you could have submenus of submenus. So that's probably like the arrows. When you hover over the thing, it gives you an arrow to the next like menu item. So we could potentially like group them and whatnot that way. What we care about at the moment right now is just the menu item and the menu. The menu item, it's an item inside of a menu. We also have icon menu item and check menu item. Interesting. So we have two other options too. We got a check menu item and an icon menu item. The icon menu item takes set accelerator, set icon. So we can set an icon for this menu item. First of all, though, I want to set the icon here. It needs a tray icon. Close, set icon. So we need to give it an icon. And that's either going to be a null string or a uint array. I'm presuming we can use the default icon. And we might be able to just say like, let's just see if we can grab this. I'm not sure. I think we can grab it directly. This is partly a Vite thing, I think. What do we got for our we got a favicon and a logo. Let's try doing the logo. Logo from it might not like the SVG. This is app TSX logo SVG. It might not like that. So with our tray, we can do I don't know if we can chain off of this. So let's do a tray dot set icon. Set icon is a promise, so we need to await. Is that menu one as well? Yeah, it is. Await. And set icon takes a string image into uint array buffer. And there's also this note. You need to enable the image ICO or image PNG cargo features to use this API. So we need that in our Tauri dependency in cargo. In our Tauri dependency, it needs to be here. So here, if we say logo, I don't know if we're going to be able to use the SVG, but we can try the PNGs otherwise. I guess it says image PNG, so let's just go ahead and do that right away. That would then be let's go up 2 levels to src Tauri / icon.png. I still don't know if I actually trust that. We'll find out here. We got a couple reloads and such. Compiling image. Okay, so it is actually grabbing some new stuff. These don't appear to have items. We got 2 of them right now. So when I click add, I'm not seeing them here either. Let's kill this and rerun it again, just in case. So I would expect, I'm expecting to see this tray set icon. Okay. So we get 2 icons. This doesn't have any menu items yet. This has 3. We click this and we do inspect. Ah, yeah, permission. Okay, that makes sense. Set icon. All right. Permission files path failed to parse. Okay. Oh. There you go. What did I copy? I must have copied something that wasn't valid. It's also possible that was showing the wrong option in there. Oh, I hit some. Permission trace set icon is not found. Wow, it gives me a lot. I literally crashed VS Code. That is interesting. So I'm gonna take this off. Oh, it's a JSON, so I can't do that. We're gonna rerun this. Oh, that's not what I meant to rerun. We're gonna rerun this. We're going to get that same permission error again. And once we see that permission error, let's see if I copied the wrong one. There we go. So rebuild. We should get now 2. Or not. There might be another permission that we need. System cannot. Okay. And it is here, going up here to icons, icon.png. It could be related to like the folders and how it's pulling it in. Hey John, good to see you. Hey, somebody's using the commands. If you're lurking, give some of those a shot. So the icon is appearing to work. Let's just do, I'm gonna sort of cheat for the moment. I'm gonna paste this here. Actually, do we have a public target source? I don't know if public or, okay. Yeah, that's fine. We'll try that. I mean, it is very well could be that it's doesn't like me specifying it. It's just a path like that, and that could be a Vite thing. We might need to like load it. That is like, this is way more convenient. We might be able to actually grab a handle to that though, but we can come back to that. So we're still getting failed to load. System cannot find the path specified. So when we look at this would be the tree icon. When we look at the tree icon, it's expecting so set icon. It's either a null, a string, or uint int array. What happens if we just do this? So like, I'm wondering if Vite's doing something interesting here. We could potentially load it in another way, but let's give that a shot. Refresh. Every time we refresh, like, it's remounting. Things get a little bit weird here, but it's still saying you can't find it though, which is weird. Icon.png, set icon. Now, what we're gonna do is see if we can find another example real quick here. These are all enumerations. Icon. Yep, nothing. Let's see if we can grab a default icon. An icon view mode template image. What does that mean? So this is, what is this? This is under menu. Enumeration. So in add item template image. Oh, so there's native icons. Interesting. Interesting. We're gonna try, like, I wouldn't actually like use this. So these enumerations are under native icon. Icon menu item. So if we would do icon, native icon. So rather than doing a set icon as like a string, if we do this, this is going to give us, like, let's do home. All I really wanted to see right now is an icon, just to know that it's working and setting it. Still can't find the specified one. Interesting. Let's try rerunning and see if that makes a difference real quick. So my expectation is that we have two icons. It would be nice to have the JavaScript load. when the app loads, so set icon, system cannot find the file specified. So like, I can't find that either. Oh. So native icon is not a Windows thing. Unsupported. Blast. Okay. There is a bunch of a bunch of like platform specific stuff in here. Okay. About check icon menu item options. Submenu items. So we can't do that because those are just going to be something that works on Mac. An icon can be any of these. So like even like a uint8 array. What is image? From image. So an image would be creates a new image from the provided bytes by inferring the file format. So this would be in the API. Oh, I didn't know this existed. So import from Tauri API / image. And what options do we have? We have image. So if we say const logo equals image, what does this take? Image.new. And this takes a expected 3 arguments. So we got to give it RGBA with height. I don't need a new image. I think that's where it's the from path. Yep. Okay. So from path, we do have that dependency as a notes here. We need either image ICO or image PNG. So if I would say slash I was it icon? Icon.png. Now if I give this logo here, oh, it's a promise. Okay, fine. Oh, wait. All right. Refresh. I'm not seeing it show up. Image.fromPath is not allowed. Yeah, more permissions. I kind of wonder, like, I feel like needing to do the permissions in Rust is versus JavaScript. Like, if you're familiar with just JavaScript, you can, if you're familiar with one and you can just like chuck it all up in one. I feel like Rust is less. You have to deal less with the permissions because you're just like in the system effectively. Security wise, like I understand why this is needed. But in reality, like it's a little bit annoying to have to remember to do this for every situation. Actually, I just put it on here. It's needed for the menu. Right. Go here. We're getting a rebuild. Okay. Still can't find it. This is nice that we have it. This feels like something that we can have under featuring recipes though. And if we don't have it here, I think this is probably something that's worth it. Because there's going to be a fair number of steps, and like getting all the paths right and everything is sort of a pain. So if you're doing a web app, most of the bundlers just like handle images. So if you do an import, it'll just like do the things for you. And the pathing of that is real nice. It seems to be not quite the case here. So having an image option in this would be nice. It is under API. Yeah, we don't even have an image under here, right? Because this is a top level thing. API image. So not documented at all. Transform image. So we got to figure out like what would be the path. New image. From bytes. New. Creates a new image using the provided bytes. Only ICO and PNG are supported. And it's running it through transform image. So from path would be run through transform image. So if it's a U in buffer, instance of image RID image. So it's using the RID from path. Oh, we're doing it in invoke first. So it's invoking and it's doing it from path. So if we look at the plugin references, it looked like it was a plugin. No. Is there an image plugin list or in this list? No, but it's under this. So it'd be, where would we have the docs for this? Tauri. What's our plugins workspace? That's what it is. And we need to go to V2. And we want to look at the plugins, I guess. Do we have anything with image in here? No. So it's got to be in the main workspace then. And this comes back around to what we were mentioning before, where part of V2 is pushing more on the plugins model. So even if something is like, so we're doing an invoke plugin, like theoretically everything could be a plugin if you abstract enough. So even still, some of these utils and such can be done as plugins. So this is utils. I have no idea where this would be, honestly. I know we had some of this within the repo, and then we pulled it out. cogen, config schema, macros. Image plugin. Here we go. So from bytes, from path. So it's doing a image from path. So that would be, and this is the resources table. Amr had mentioned this before. So he was mentioning that what we could do would be, it might still be on the screen here. On the rest side of things, you could then, when you create the menu, to establish a hook to it, put it in the resources. And if we look at the resources, when we're defining our like configuration, for instance, as part of the not build config, is it the bundle config? We have a resources here. Bundle resources. A map of source to target paths. Definition for bundle resource. They can either be a list of paths to include or a map of source to target paths. So I think there's a few ways we can do it. If we define a resource, so like anything that's in the web app gets like bundled into the public directory, and like that gets added as a resource. So when we build this, we get like a dist directory, of which it would then have like an icon .png. So if we look, if we're working off of that assumption, we might not need, like it might actually work without the relative path in here. Refresh. Okay, so still can't find it. We might need to just like add it to this resource list to see if we can get it to show up. Let me just kill this and restart it just in case. I want to see if that icon.png shows up. I guess we're not actually importing it. So there's nothing that's actually gonna like get it to copy over. So if we do import icon.png, this isn't actually going to be like loaded into the web view here. That's basically going to just get Vite to copy it into the public directory and serve it. Of which then hoping, whoop, clicked the wrong button, but it's fine. Yeah, I still can't find it. Okay. 35 and 21 we threw an error on. So that would be 35. I don't know if those are right. Okay. Let's take this out. And we're going to add it as a resource real quick. Like configuration, bundle. We have icon here already. If we look in bundle, bundle config, there is an icon here. Okay. Icon string, the app's icons. Got it. I don't know if we can like hook into those icons though from the front end. So let's just try this. The bundle resources, list of paths to include. I'm not 100% certain what that's relative to. I'm guessing it's probably relative to Tauri to configuration file. So if we do resources, bundle resources. Got it defined already. That's why I wasn't filling it in. Let's try that. So that would then get it to show up in our resources. So if we just do this, and we're doing from path, and I think that can be a from path pointing to the resource. Like this is all this stuff. Like if we're gonna add docs for this, this would be the stuff to add. I don't know that it reloaded properly. We'll give it a refresh here. Nothing now. Image from path. I'm wondering if it's the resources throwing this error or not. It's not clear. If we do this, technically this is still gonna build. We'll get an error once we get into the web view, but that would be enough to like get it to work. I'm gonna see if it might be something with that configuration of the resources. That's it doesn't appear to be. Okay, so the image from path. Oop. Here's a new image using the provided path. Doesn't actually say where in those docs. And we've got this bundled resources. This is calling a set icon on an image, and where's our here from path. So this is going to be taking a path. Size. Okay, so if we just call creates an image from a resource ID. So if we call new, that would be creating a new image. We don't need to create a new image. We can do from bytes, or we can do from path. And we need to do, so this is doing from path, and it's let image web view resources table. Oh, so it's pulling it from a path. It's pulling it from a path and then adding it to the resources table, and that would actually get it to pull in to the binary once we ship. So if we, so I don't think we actually need it here. As long as we can get it to work here, we just need to figure out like from where this is expecting. So like if I do from path here, is that image from path running from source Tauri? I think the answer to that is yes. I'm gonna give that a refresh here. But it could very well be from the root. So those are going to be the things that we end up trying here. And yeah, like this just completely borks that. Default icon. Our icons are these. Okay. I'm guessing we need to do, let's try it from here. Source Tauri. Rebuild. It's weird that it just like completely becomes unclickable. That definitely makes it difficult to debug what's going on, because we can't even get the At least in our case, we can't even get the web view. Cannot find the file path. So this would be it's still not clear to me if it is coming from, I guess once we got this open, oh, it like freezes this up. Yeah, if I put a different, or like a bad path in here. I like can't click on anything. Interesting. So source story would give us an error saying bad path. If I refresh, we get that same error. If I change this to say icons, I'm gonna do this and this. I literally can't click on any of this now. Like, it freezes all of this up. See? That is kind of weird. So image from path. It is doing an image from path. Image comes from image. So it's the image crate. So it's doing a from path. So if we go to like crates.io and we search for image, this library does there's an open and there's a new. Is there a from path? From? No. We're doing more. There's an image. So if we do a new, it does this. Let's look at their docs. Let's try from path. Search this. So image from parts, from path, from raw. Certainly seems like there's this from path, image, command. Or is it, is it saying this image? It's this image, new. New from bytes, from path. Okay, so it's reading at that path and like converting it into bytes. So it's like something is going wonky somewhere in here. Based on activated feature flag. So the path should be, and like this is probably part of it. I bet you we're getting an error or something here, and it's just not handled. So we like it just straight up freezes up. Let's close the standard FS read. So the question is, when we run this, are we running it from source Tauri? Guessing we are, which would lead me to believe that this is what we want. Because it'll be icons and then icon.png. I mean, it could be like we could try one of these other like store logo or something. It could be something with that specific PNG that it doesn't like it might be a size issue or something. It's just dying on that. Because we don't get anything here. Let's try something else. Let's do a square. We'll say do the square 150 by 150. Just to rule out that it's that specific file. I wasn't expecting this icon to give me so many issues. Okay. Can't find it. It could very well be something with the way it's getting added to the resources table. So like if we remove it here, it might not like that. So let's do it. This. A refresh. So it can't find it. If we do icons. So I think it ultimately ends up getting fetched from the resources table. Well, no, it's doing fs read. Square. Ah, I missed a logo in there. So it's definitely never going to find it. Icons, square. Yep, it crashed again. Possible this doesn't work. Source. That there was a regression or something. I mean, there's like it's not documented anywhere that I've seen. So that could be part of the issue here. We want this. We want this. Yeah, we can't interact with anything. Source Tauri. Icons. Square 150 by 150 logo.png. Yep. Not working. So if it's using the set icon, let's try punting on this image function or this image class. Maybe is a little bit more realistic to say. Let's try just doing a set icon pointing to something that will show up in the resources table. And are we like completely frozen up now? It seems like it. Because I would expect this to throw a bigger error. Okay, so that's not defined yet, and it still cannot find the path specified. So we can try adding it to the resources table again. And again, it could be that we are adding it with a name that overlaps with something that's already existing there. Because like, oh, hey, there we go. Yeah. So now we got this and this. What we could, so 150 by 150 is not terribly high res. I'm going to try this 310. And now, like every time we look at this, it's going to like give us a new token or give us a new icon. So when we click add tray menu item now, see, we got that, like, it's not removing it. So every time we load this, it's not handling the unload, which is kind of annoying. So like built into, I mean, it's going to be different when we would like build this for release. I mean, I suppose we could very well do a release build real quick and check that. We are probably, I mean, we've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. If we set an icon, this should only be set when it starts. We're not going to get the reloads. So that's fine. And if we do this, like, it shows up there. And we can handle these events. I mean, that's still wonky. Like, it's adding it twice, so we'd have to deal with that. What is it doing? Set tray menu items. Click menu item 2. So it is doing we're firing off this event. It's using items. So it's doing a new menu item. And then we're appending it. I mean, that seems right. That new menu item has a clicked. So if we look here, now we have 2. Now each of those should do a, yep. So we clicked and we clicked. I don't know why it's adding it twice. I'm gonna actually take off this append. I'm curious if just by creating a new menu item, if it's adding it, which feels weird. Menu, new, tray, set the menu. From here, we're using a menu item. Like, it could vary. I don't see anything here that would like lead me to believe that clicking that should be giving me new ones. Let's kill it and restart. So every time the app loads right now, we're adding these menu items. So we would have to like pull out the code a little bit to where if a menu or something exists, like we're doing a tray icon.new. If we can somehow grab a handle to the one if it exists. So add a menu item. We got boop 1. So clicked button 1. So now when we click that again, we're gonna get click menu item 2. It needs it. It needs the append. Refresh. That's kind of awkward in a sort of hilarious way. Whoop, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do that. So if we do an inspect and we look at the console, we can click. So we clicked button 1. Now this will be the first one. Clicked menu item 2. So now we got 1 and 2. And if we every time we click the button, we can log out the items. Console.log. tray menu items. And here we're going to log out items. So inspect. Add 47. Oh, wait, use state. Okay. So we're calling a tray menu items. Is here. We've got a set. Got a use state. We are tray menu items. Here then does a set state. Why would we get a promise fulfilled? Why is that a promise? Tray menu items. I think I did something goofy here. Await menu item new. This is doing a set. Oh. Items. We get the length. And items again. Oh. Okay. Let us take a little peek-see at this. This might be a quick solve. And then I think that's probably where we're gonna, like, once we see what's happening here, we'll probably call it. I think we've got an idea to where we can support tray icons and this little pop-up for either Rust or JavaScript. And it does, like, the thing is starting and I'm getting the icons right away. So like this is firing. The app is like loading and rendering and I'm getting a set menu so we can see the icon. So that's good news that the experience, I think we can make the experience the same regardless if you use Rust or JavaScript. But let's go ahead and open up our console again here. So we have no icons. We're gonna click, it's gonna add. We are getting no tray menu items. That makes sense because we're logging out before we actually add that one. So now if I click this one, we are getting items. It's firing off items again twice. Why is it doing that? That's kind of weird. Which is probably why we're getting two. Is it because this is like, are we immediately invoking this? This, that, action. Let's give that a shot. So if we load this up again, we do a clear. We've got nothing on that one. So the latest one I think is going to have our menu item there. Ooh boy. Okay, give that a refresh. So I add. Click button 1, click menu item 2. Yeah, so it's now firing them all off in succession, which makes sense. Action. Does that? I don't know if that matters. Refresh. Add. Weird. I don't know why it's triggering twice. Well, so if every time we click, well, let's give this a refresh. Let's just click the button every time. Add. Cannot read properties of undefined reading append. I think we're going to end up having to do some of this abstracting out, because we are getting handle item menu. I think we're getting some like weird stuff with the closure going on here or something. So every time we add this, so at least it's not adding one every time. Uncaught in promise, so this would be on line 49. Menu.append. Cannot read properties of undefined reading append. So menu for some reason here is not defined. Menu is set here, in which we're doing a menu.new. And then we're setting that menu here. So if we log out menu, is it defined the first time only? That would feel weird. Menu, undefined. So somehow we're like that must be like a re-rendering or redoing the use effect, and then we're losing access to the menu. So like that's probably a big part of the reason that we're getting this like weird that's why we're getting this weird functionality happening. Menu. I mean, again, this is like we're just like testing this out. I'm not actually going to keep this. So I don't, as long as we kind of have an idea of what's going on, click it once, it adds it. We still have access to that menu. We clicked this one. We still have access to the menu. So something's weird with that closure. Whenever we click the button in here, it's still adding it twice. Because we've now, when we click items again is an array, and then it turns into a promise. Set menu items. That is weird. Why oh, is it because we have is it an async thing? Const await items. That's weird. Famous last words. Right. I don't know why it becomes a promise suddenly. That is just entirely confusing to me. So we add it. We boop it once. Array, arrays, arrays. We do it again. Now it's suddenly a promise. So I guess once it has items in there, an empty array must resolve immediately. Is that really? Maybe I haven't done like async state updates. Maybe is that like a new, or is the state updates running twice? I think we're just getting some more like a weird React something or other in here. Let's do I don't know. Items. Refresh. Got so many icons now. We got a boop. We got a no, it's still 2 boops. I mean, at least it's adding all the boops now. I think this is strict mode. Let's turn off strict mode. React in strict mode runs hooks twice, I believe. That's a lot of icons. Yeah, React strict mode stuff. I was running it twice. So we'll have to think about that. How do I know which one I'm working on? It's the last one. This first one that doesn't. I don't know if you can. It's small. It is small, but this first icon here is the one that's coming from Rust. What icon I added for the JavaScript side of things is lower quality, so I can tell between those two. And then literally with the code that I have right now, every time the app mounts, which would mean a refresh, I get another icon. And because I was in React strict mode, I was running the state updates twice, in which case I was getting multiple menu items every time. So now it's actually incrementing as I'm expecting it to. I don't know that I need to do that await, but that was why multiple state updates in strict mode. So again, like this is this is not how we're going to want to do it. But we have something that's going to be dynamic now. We don't have it in the Rust side of things, just the JavaScript side of things, but that's fine. I think we run with the JavaScript side of things, and next time we look at wiring up the store. So, and like a little like settings page or something like that. We're debugging. Can you tell? I've got lots of tabs. Strict mode, or I saw your message, John. Store became strict mode. We have a store here, so we can use this store, and this is going to be our like settings persistence layer, and the thing that's going to end up driving every time we when the app loads, we can define the icon and go from there based off this config. So we'll still have to do like when we click a button or whatever settings page we have, when you define them in there and we set it here, we're still gonna need some like way to deal with that or whatever. But you ended up turning off strict mode. Biggest mistake that the React team made. Concept is great, reality sucked. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that like I can see where the basis of the decisions is coming from, but like I mean, part of it is like I'm just throwing together some code here quick. I think strict mode is showing me the errors that it should be showing me, because it's telling me that I shouldn't be doing this because it's not like pure, which is yes. But also it's not immediately clear that that's actually what's happening. Things just go off the rails and you're like, what is happening? So like in some ways works as expected, and in other ways, like, I don't know. I don't know. So I think next time what we do, we come back around. Let's get rid of all these icons. We should be able to click in both places, and we should be getting menu items. So the idea then is going to be, we will in Rust or JavaScript, we would be able to, based off of a store or some way to save state, allow the user to set settings for menu items to where they could click a button and fire off whatever defined work they have, or do the thing. So we now have these two icons again. The Rust side is the nicer looking icon just because that's what I happen to load in. The JavaScript side of it is the other one. So if I click this, I can get my little pop-up window. Yeah, we'll ignore that. Interacting with this is now editing the JavaScript icon. We get a boop one. We do it again. We didn't deal for that. We click it in here. Now we can continue to increment, and we're dynamically editing this based off of our JavaScript over here, where when we interact with these items, we're creating a new item every time. So again, convoluted, not something that we're actually going to do, but we can see that it is dynamic, and we can now make use of that by wiring it up to a store. I think this is gonna end up working to where we can get both Rust and JavaScript to work similarly. And then when you clone this template, you end up just using whichever one you're most comfortable with, or whichever you would prefer to use in your use case. I'm gonna have to. So generically, like, this is good. This can work in any framework or just vanilla JavaScript. But also, it's going to take a little work to wire it up, because with this example, I can't just straight in copy and paste it because it's not like reactified. So like, that's another thing to think about. You can do everything in Rust, or you can do everything in JavaScript, which then branches into, well, if you're doing JavaScript, are you doing React or Vue or vanilla JavaScript, etc., etc. Yeah, sure. Go ahead and ask John. We'll answer this question, and then I think we call it for the day. And next time we're gonna try to hook up a store, and I don't know. I really am not terribly keen on having 17 different JavaScript frameworks to support JavaScript, but that's also why I'm gonna commit it as a template, so y'all can help out. The code that we have right now is in this tray app. We've copied it out, so I'm gonna end up probably end up committing what I have to another repo, and we can kind of go from there. The JSON RPC custom protocol, it is ultimately implemented over HTTPS. I know it is a registered protocol or other. So you are. Where is that? I'm here. Revamped IPC. So the old way had a different way to do IPC, and then it's changed a little bit, particularly because it's switching to more of this HTTP based communication. Now, I think what you're saying, John, is that besides this IPC, we also have a custom protocol that uses the JSON RPC, which I don't remember where that is offhand. And if I'm recalling correctly, that was something that Jonas worked on some to explore alternatives to the IPC layers so as to give an additional option for a different performance profile. Rust to the web via invoke or Rust or web to Rust. So there's we did a stream. We did a stream on live file streaming. In this, I'm pretty sure it's in this file streaming one, we ended up going into the custom protocol stuff a little bit. And that custom, we've done it in a few of them now, but at the end of the day, most of the JavaScript side of things at this point is firing off in an invoke. And that invoke ends up rolling into, depending on the type of pattern that you're using, the invoke fires off a message either via post message or like HTTP. And part of the custom protocol ends up being the does it say in here? Invoke handler. No. So part of, no, not deep linking. Is there a custom protocol in here? Where would it be? I'm trying to remember where I saw that. There is a... Nope. Maybe it wasn't in the docs. Maybe it was actually in the code itself. Do you know where the JSON RPC code is offhand? And is the Rust acting as a web server? I want to say that in all of these cases it isn't. Let's see if we can track it down real quick here. And we'll see how well I remember where this is. Event IPC channel command protocol. No. I want the scripts. So in Tauri core, Tauri scripts, that's where all of our JavaScript is, and this is the stuff that's like embedded into like the window object. And pattern defines the pattern that you're using for the message passing. The channel value octet stream. Again, we went. I think the file streaming one might be a good one to, if you want to understand this a little bit more. but we're doing a. So this is communicating over IPC, and it does a post message to like this endpoint basically. So it's doing a fetch, and that fetch is as far as the, so it's like a in the browser when you click on a button to log in and it opens up a pop-up. To communicate with that pop-up, you're still like within the same like browser session context. You need to communicate back and forth between that pop-up and your main window via post message, and that's not doing it's not like going to a web server and coming back type thing. It's like internal communication. So this fetch, there's the fetch, and then there's the post message here. So Tauri internals post message, and IPC post message. So it send there's a switch in here that I was looking for. Send process IPC message, data post message. So window IPC. And like this is where it starts mattering is isolation message. So there's an isolation protocol, and there's the, and that's like the iframe type stuff. Otherwise, it is using here. This is, I think this is what I was looking for. If you're doing brownfield, it's doing a post message. If you're doing isolation, depending on, you're not supposed to do IPC over isolation. Stop opening. And I guess that's it. Is isolation payload. Yeah, so send isolation message. And is that, oh, here. So that's a check. Content window post message. So it's either doing it via the Tauri internals post message, or in the case of isolation, it's doing a post message through the iframe. So, so the Rust bindings to WebView 2 have a hook into the post message. Yeah, post message is like part of the like WebView. You know, it's basically like a browser thing. So whatever browser you're working in, like WebView 2 or whatnot. So actually, I think I might have understood when you said JSON RPC. I think I might have misunderstood that. There's because there's GRCP. I think there was some other work to try. It was either RCP or something else that Jonas was working on, but I don't think that's actually what you're talking about. I thought it was at first, but maybe not. So what it's, depending on if you're brownfield or isolation, determines if it's using the post message in the isolation pattern. It uses post message. Otherwise, it's using the post message that comes from the Tauri internals. Where is that now? Tauri internals, Tauri pattern. Yeah, so if you're doing isolation pattern, you're getting an iframe. And iframes are like really well sandboxed, but also it doesn't support, there's going to be limitations. Docs, inter-process communication commands mention it. Oh, JSON RPC, it mentions it. Can we look at that real quick? Inter process communication. Yep, so brownfield and isolation. Yeah, okay. When you said JSON RPC, why isn't that loading? That's weird. I thought you were potentially talking about something else. IPC request response, yep. Or FFI, primary API invokes because it's a JSON RPC like protocol under the hood to serialize requests and responses. Yeah. Does it? Oh my. Implementations. Yeah, okay. So basically like some JSON stuff. Yeah, so it's talking about let's see if we can find it real quick. Pretty certain it's in here. We've got this convert file source, which defines the protocol. And so this would be like you can do custom protocols. It says protocol and using fetch, it implies network, but it's not. Yeah, so we have OS name is Windows or Android, do that, otherwise this. So you can define like specific protocols. And here, OS name is Windows HTTP. And that's to a file path. So this convert file source, invoke, transform callback. I feel like every time I look at this, I have to like remind myself exactly how it's working. Window Tauri internals IPC. So anytime you call invoke, it's calling this Tauri internals IPC. And there's an IPC queue. And what were we looking for again? Wait for IPC. Oh, the post message. Where is it defining post message? Because I think it just like generically does post message, but it's not necessarily post message. Pattern is isolation message. Payload, send, IPC. And this is what we looked at. So depending on which one you're using, it's going to use the post message. So we want to find Tauri internals post message. And is that set here? No. Invoke. Post message. Here we go. So if we're doing brownfield, which I think is the default, we end up executing this send IPC message. And this uses, depending on if you're using the custom, if it's custom protocol, can use custom protocol. So on Linux, and you're kind of specifically curious about Windows, right? So that is unrelated. And it's doing a fetch. And this is like where that like JSON RPC stuff kind of comes into play. Either Webview blocked a custom protocol or it was a CSP error. And then send IPC message. So it attempts to use. Wait. Oh, custom protocol failed. Got it. So if it fails, then it does post message. That's what it is. Yep. So there's post message under IPC, and that is like Tauri internals. That's the other post message. This is what was confusing me. So there's IPC, which this IPC file defines value. This one defines a post message, right? There's convert files command message error play. Okay. Command is the like in the invoke, the thing that you're putting in the invoke. So it is doing the, based on if you're in isolation or not. Well, let's assume brownfield. If you're in brownfield, you're doing the you're doing either a fetch or you're doing it post message. Post message is the communicate with Popup default, and I think that's what it used to be in V1. But the problem with post message was that like it wasn't terribly performant when you had like large files, and there was like edge cases where it wasn't performing well. And so then the fetch is fetch. What it's doing is it is doing a fetch, which is like browser HTTP communication, and it's doing a post with headers. But the endpoint that it's going to is the it's taking this command and converting it. And that was why I mentioned that before, because what is it under? Core? This, yeah. So it takes that, whatever your command is, and it converts it into, if it's an asset, then, asset loading is slightly different. But we're basically converting it into this like localhost pattern. So if it's Windows or Android, we use this localhost pattern. Others we use this, and I think it's a routing thing, and like a file path thing. So when it does a fetch, it's doing a fetch within that web view, and then this comes back to. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this, but it's not, the Rust side of things is not, I'm pretty certain of this. I would have to like double check to be 100% certain, but the Rust side of things is not running a web server, but it's like listening for these events effectively. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that right away though. So post message fires off the invoke. Or excuse me, your commands fire off in an invoke. The invoke ends up firing off a fetch to one of these like localhost endpoints, and anytime we're like firing off those events, like I think it's effectively like a listener in the browser. Yeah, I think it's basically like listening for the events. It's not actually like doing a fetch to a server to where that server is then listening, because that's one of the big things with some other platforms is they're actually like running a local host. And if you know how that app is implemented and what those URLs are, you can actually like hit that local host as long as your app is running, and that's a way to like backdoor into the app if that's not like hammered down really well. Here, let me catch up on these messages. So the rest behind Regal. Let me know if I'm getting if I'm saying that wrong. How do you make an app appear on a context menu similar to VS Code when right-clicking in a directory? How can you implement that in Tauri? I think that's a registry thing. So when you install the app, that would be something that you like add in the registry. I'm not certain offhand. I haven't personally looked into it, and I don't know if Tauri has anything to help with that at the moment. I think if you needed something like that, I believe Rust still can do it. If you're like on Windows, we're using Windows RS, and let's see if this gives you context menu. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna. I don't know what it's gonna be called. That's part of the problem. Right. Registry. I'm pretty certain you would have to add something to the registry to add that hook into Windows. And I'm guessing it's something in the vein of this. There's also on that same topic, there is this deep linking. Right now, only Android and iOS, it's only supported for those. But the idea is that when you click on a thing which has been like registered, so you gotta set this stuff up, and basically like if somebody clicks on a URL, open it up in the app instead. And what this is doing, and the reason it only works on Android and iOS right now, is the Tauri is like basically setting up like the registry hooks for it, so that the OS knows when it gets a thing, do this instead. I'm pretty certain it's something that can be done. I don't know if it is. The other messages, John, you said the protocol is using fetch and applies network, but it's not. Yeah, that's the, and that's why I always have to like go back through it. It's probably worth saying something in here, honestly. Like, if you've looked at the code, this is how it's, it says fetch, but it's not actually like fetching to a web server. Because commands still use message passing under the hood, they do not share the same security pitfalls as real FFI interfaces. Yeah. We'll give it like 5 minutes. Let's see if I can track this down real quick, where we're like listening for it. We might not be able to. Okay, IPC handler. How to handle IPC calls in the web view. IPC. Yeah, there's an IPC handler. Windows monitor? Nope, that's an actual monitor, I think. I think once we hit Rust, all of this is just kind of defined as IPC. I don't see anything here. So the runtime like registers it in, or like gives you the struct for pending web view, which has the IPC handler. So I think in would it be in Rye? Rye would be, that might actually end up happening in Rye too. I'm not certain if it's here or if it's in Rye. It might be in Rye. Oh, that's what happened there, CSS. I know it's search too, but I'm not signed in on this one for reasons. So IPC. Attach IPC handler. So here you can see little bits of it. Tracing. Add script to execute on document created. So there's a IPC handler. And it's probably going to be in the core actually. Error lib proxy web context. IPC handler, okay. Here. Sets the IPC handler to receive messages from JavaScript on the web view. So this is the post message one. I mean, this could be out of date too. Like technically it was post message at one point, but it might actually support both now. The request URL is not supported in iframes, and the main frame URL is used instead. Yep. So it's in here somewhere. It might it's probably worth like talking about this a little bit because it's pretty cool what they've figured out. I would have to double check though. Amr stops by the stream all the time. I think he's gotten into a bunch of this because I believe some of this is set up in Rye. But so I think effectively what it ends up happening is that we have domains effectively, which like the communication protocol is HTTP, but it's not going to a server. It is firing off the fetch. We're listening in the web view to handle these events, and we have registered and know that if the URL is X, then we're going to do something with it. Like we're going to basically intercept it and not let it fire off to the world. There is I think we've got something about custom protocol. This would be the file streaming thing. If you want to, we'll leave it at that. There is a stream where we went through. My expectation was that we were going to go into file streaming. We did. But as part of and kind of deeply embedded into that is one of the examples has a custom protocol. So it registers a custom protocol that when you invoke over that custom protocol, it does some, it handles it differently on the Rust side of things. So not only is there these like predefined ones where when we fire off an invoke, it gets captured. You can also register your own custom ones, and that you can do. I think it ends up being in Rye. You do it in your like main.rs or whatever, but you register it there via like Rye hook. And you're basically saying like, this is the custom protocol. When we receive an event here, do this code instead. So if you want to know more about the Rust side of things, once it receives the event, check that video out. Or I guess it's just this way. Hopefully that answered it. It is a bunch of this code I didn't write. And every time I look at it, it's changed. Because I don't dive into it too deeply too often. So some of it is I have to remind myself, but hopefully that answered your question and gave you enough to like, if you need more, you can dig. And if this is a really interesting topic, we can we can potentially talk to one of the folks that wrote it and pull them in. You may have forgot what. Well, and it's one of those things too where you read about a whole bunch of things, but you don't really like understand or realize the ramifications of that thing until you like look at the other end of the spectrum, and then you like start to connect those pieces together, and you're like, oh, actually, like this is how they come together. So now that you've gotten like one side of it, and now that you have the other side of it, rereading or rewatching through the other side of it might make a lot more sense. Cool. I think that's what we're gonna call it. That was a really good question, but it was a really deep question. This has been a relatively long stream. It's fine though. Off to work though. Have a great rest of your great rest of your week. I think we're pending other guests or otherwise. I think we'll end up working on this system tray app for another 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, it certainly makes the electron versus Tauri versus neutralino comparison more complex. And that part of the issue too is like there's the overlapping terminology and like piecing out what exactly it's doing. Like it's getting to the point where like these pieces of code are really well documented, and the people that understand them are very few. So making a deep comparison like that ends up being really difficult because you need to literally read the code and understand how each of these is implementing it, which is, like you said, it becomes involved. And you look at like marketing docs for these different frameworks, and you're like, well, from a high level, yeah, if we implement this thing, it's like, well, there might be asterisks. So everybody wants to get somebody to use their thing, generally. So in some ways, it's not always in the best interest to make those asterisks clear. So anyways, yeah, again, thanks for the question. It was a fun one. Maybe in the next like 2 weeks or so, we'll probably do more with this tray app, 2-3 weeks to get it into the template. And if we all are interested in helping out, I'll get stuff pushed up and whatnot, and we can start having a template with like snippets where we can spin up a tray app like this. Like this doesn't really make sense as like a create Tauri app thing in my mind, because it's create Tauri app is to like spin you up in a project real quick. This is more of like a focused template. So different use cases, and the snippets thing is just a way to swap between these pieces, and we can always, there's a little bit of like feeding off of each other kind of thing. We're going down paths that aren't terribly well documented, so in setting up a template, now we have examples that we know are working. We can feed those back into the docs. So I think it's a fun exercise, something that's potentially useful for me and others, and hopefully all are learning stuff along on the ride. Anyways, have a great rest of your week. I will see y'all next Tuesday. Bye.